If we're talking Ducks and if we're talking Pack, we're probably talking to Spencer McLaughlin here, the voice of college football. Appreciate Spencer dropping by to talk up college football with just 2 or 3 weeks away from week 0 and then week 1 as the Ducks get it back on the field in pursuit of a final Pac championship. Pac-12, we can call it the Pac-12 in reference to the 2023 season. Spencer, the numbers have changed by the day, but we've landed at 4, meaning landscape of the Pac conference for its existence as it currently stands. But it's the Pac-12 if we want to get into the groove of the 2023 season. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, good to be back with you, Mark. And it is certainly an interesting season, to say the least. I think that would be underselling it, not just because the football is going to be so compelling, but because of the storylines that have infused themselves into these games now. It feels like a lot of matchups are going to be about more than just a football game in the Pac-12.
Yeah, and even more than just a championship in the Pac-12. So I've been saying for a year that final USC-UCLA game is going to be kind of eerie, even though their rivalry will continue as arguably the marquee game in the conference through the decades, them taking off for the Big Ten and being the last game that they would ever play in the Pac conference. And now the entire month of November, those final weekends of the season, as we think about, okay, this is going to possibly be the last time that this particular school visits this campus and that stadium, and these two teams get together. The entire scene, to me, as a purist traditionalist, is just going to be eerie and strange.
It is, and there are going to be some matchups in particular that I think are going to be the most kind of iconic of sorts, and the ones that we may literally never see again, or at least might not see for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And one day we'll look back and say, hey, they haven't played since they were both members of the Pac. You look at USC and Utah. When's the next time they're going to play again? I mean, so far it's Kyle Whittingham 2, Lincoln Riley 0. Is it going to stay that way? I suspect the Trojans get revenge this year because that game is being played in Los Angeles. But I could see Utah winning that game. But what does that feel like for the Trojans if they still can't get past the Utes? And what does that do for the Utes to say, like, hey, we're going into the Big 12, and by the way, we just beat 3 times in a row a team that's going to go and contend for a Big Ten championship year in and year out. And you look at the Oregon USC game. Well, that matchup's going to continue in the Big Ten, you would think. We don't have all those details at this time, but it would appear that it makes the most sense for Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA to play each other every year to minimize the amount of travel that they have to do. So I assume that's how it'll go down. I don't know that for sure, but those sorts of matchups and the bigger ramifications, or the game formerly known as the Civil War, with Oregon leaving Oregon State behind, the Apple Cup with Washington leaving Washington State behind, seem to have a little more edge to them than they otherwise would, which they always did because the rivalry games. But now that it's the last time it'll happen, as everyone's a member of the Pac, even if those rivalry games continue in the future, Mark, they will never, never, never feel the way that they do right now.
They certainly won't. And again, it's going to have a strange and odd feeling. The only thing that I can really compare to it is going to the NFL level, knowing that final game at Cleveland Browns Stadium, Municipal Stadium, actually the old Cleveland Browns Stadium, when they had their bags packed for Baltimore, and the fans knowing this is the last Cleveland Browns game we will see. They were thinking at the time forever, but there would, of course, be a new franchise that would start a few years later. I doubt if that kind of salvation is going to be coming the Pac-12's way, because there is no NCAA that really cares or has the power to do anything about it like the NFL could.
I'm pretty sure the only thing the NCAA has the power to do in college football is suspend coaches and players for frivolous infractions.
Yeah, they have certainly
that's it.
Held on to that disciplinary portion of what they do, and that's pretty much what they've been doing for decades. I haven't seen much leadership or vision to propel the sport or manage or do what's best for the sport. It's more of a policing committee. All right, that's a conversation for another day. The conversation for right now is that while there's that feeling surrounding Pac football this year, there's also, for those schools that are moving on in 2024, I'm sure you can't get enough of it, or your audience can't get enough of Oregon to the Big Ten, and what has the response been?
I think there's a split, as you would expect, on basically any matter in college football. But on this one in particular, you have, I think, a segment of Oregon fans who are frustrated that the pack had to die, but perhaps recognize it was not in our long term best interests, which you can easily make the argument that it was not to stay in the pack. I think there was a case, but I think that it grew weaker by the day when they weren't able to get a media rights deal secured for so long. I think that became pretty telling. And unfortunately, we've learned after the fact as well, and had confirmed what Andrew Marchand reported, a couple times over the last several months, and that's that the PAC had an offer from ESPN for $30 million a school for all the broadcasting rights, and the Pac-12 presidents, in their arrogance, frankly, said, no, we can get a better deal. We're worth more than that, and now the league is not going to exist. So that's all really unfortunate. I think there are fans who feel that. There are some fans who, can't wait. I think amongst Oregon fans, in my experience, it's a smaller portion that feel this way. But there are some who say, good, I wanted to get out of the pack, leave it behind. I don't want it. It's terrible. It's no good, very bad, awful, terrible leadership, everything like that. So I get that, but I just don't. I don't find myself able to look past what we have lost, and it is overshadowing what Oregon can gain, which is assured stability, relevance, financial competitiveness, all that stuff. Having some cool matchups that'll exist in the future. Yeah, sure, but then there'll be matchups that I don't care about. There'll be a lot of matchups that I don't care about against teams that I don't care about because they're not the ones that I grew up with. And I cannot shake the feeling of I just lament that we got to this point. There are a lot of factors that led us up to this point, but it's a move that Oregon felt they had to make, and it excuse me, it was the right time for the Big Ten to strike while the iron was hot, and while Oregon and Washington were cheap commodities after the Pac-12 deal wasn't particularly close to where everyone else was in terms of guaranteed money. Now the incentives look like they would have gotten them beyond the Big 12, maybe even the ACC, but there were no guarantees there, and you're gonna take an assurance over a guarantee like that. That's just, especially with the whole Pac-12 network debacle. So that's kind of where it's gotten to, and it's unfortunate that that's what had to happen. But at the end of the day, it seems like Oregon and Washington both felt like we have to make this move if the opportunity comes about.
And now we all may know why the Big Ten waited. And there was all sorts of speculation as to why are they not taking Washington and Oregon if they truly want them and they've applied. They must not want them. Well, then why don't they deny them? Well, they got them on the cheap months and months later.
Yeah, the very cheap. I think if you would offer, I think the report that they were vetted and cleared by the Big Ten came out. I mean, that was many months. That might have even been calendar year 2022 that Oregon and Washington had been vetted and cleared by the Big Ten, which, by the way, was preparing them for this sort of situation. It's you vet and clear them so that if circumstances change, we have their resume on file and we know that we can add them. That's what happened. And if they had added Oregon to Washington in, August of 2022, sure, the Ducks and Huskies would have said yes then as well, but it probably would have cost them closer to 40 or 50 million per year. And the Big Ten instead got them closer to 30 and just above 30. And, eventually they'll become full media rights partners and getting a full share around, $70 million or whatnot. But that doesn't come for 6 years or so. And I think the Big Ten played this really smart. And if the Pac-12 offer had come in with guaranteed money in the $35 million range and the Pac teams had, agreed to all 10 stay together, and the Big Ten would have been, okay, fine. We got what we were looking for, but we were going to take, those bonus schools, Oregon and Washington, if it came about. But we didn't need them. We'd take them if we get them at the right price, and then the right price came along.
Washington and Oregon administration takes solace in this, that I believe I've got the calendar dates on this correct. This being the 10th season of Maryland and Rutgers in the Big Ten. I think they're finally getting a full share this season. Otherwise, you might have been playing with two schools that were still getting less money than you would be getting 10 years after the fact.
10 years. I actually did not know that. I would have thought that Maryland and Rutgers had been fully incorporated by now, but I mean, I don't think that's what was holding them back from winning in the Big Ten in football. But every conference needs bottom dwellers every year, and Maryland and Rutgers for the most part have served that role. I know Maryland's had a couple solid seasons, but Rutgers, man, I mean, have they done anything in the Big Ten?
No, no. They hit a 21 game losing streak in the Big Ten that was snapped by Greg Schiano's entry. But yeah, their best record in the Big
21.
Ten is
That's
3 and
tough.
6. That's the best they've done in the Big Ten, and that's the high water mark. Yeah,
Not great.
their
That's
record.
not that's not great.
I saw the record the other day, 13 and 60 something. It's awful. They've gotten just drilled
Well,
week after
someone
week.
has to lose. Someone has to lose these games, Mark.
Yeah, they're all making money, but somebody's going to lose the games.
Yeah.
There's a Pac 12 season, folks, and it's going to be a special one for historical reasons, but it's also going to be a good one. Before all this mess ensued, we're coming off a
There's going to
really
be great
strong
football.
season. It's going to be great football with the best quarterback play in all of college football.
Absolutely.
So
And I don't know that there's a close second with regards to the quarterback play.
I don't believe so.
Like who is second?
Going into last season, I thought that the ACC had the best quarterback play, and the
But
Pac-12
going into this
sailed right
season,
by. Yeah, a lot changes in one season.
like when you go
So,
Caleb, I mean, you have Drake May over in the ACC at North Carolina, but then, I mean, Cade Klubnik could be pretty good at Clemson. Okay,
Jordan Travis.
Jordan Travis at Florida State. So the ACC might.
Georgia
I mean,
Kovic
yes,
could be
because the
a good
SEC is
quarterback.
just a bunch of newcomers, and then Jaden Daniels at LSU,
KJ
right?
Jefferson's a really good quarterback.
Solid, yeah. I don't think he'd be top 4 in the pack though.
Uh,
Like
I don't know that-
I would put the top 4. Maybe I'm biased because I cover the conference, of course, but I'd put the top 4 in the pack up against. I mean, anybody in the
yes,
country.
absolutely. That's why I made the statement it's the best
Yeah.
quarterback league in the country.
But I don't even know. I don't even know if you can find like 2 quarterbacks that could crack the top 4 in the pack. I mean, Travis, maybe, but I think Cam Rising is more proven than Jordan Travis.
Well, sure, he's more proven, but if you're going to have me select who I want to play the season for me, I'm taking Jordan Travis over Cam Rising.
Oh, I'd take Cam Rising. I would take Cam. I think Travis is good, but I would take Cam. I would take the top 4 in the pack over Jordan Travis. I would take Drake May over anyone except Caleb Williams, though. But that's about
See,
it. But you
I'm
just
not
go
quite as high on Drake May as everybody else is, just because I know he's got tremendous talent and scored a zillion touchdowns against really bad defenses, but the ending to his season was not great. You saw him against the Ducks. I'm not talking about the Holiday Bowl, but the last few games of his season were not pretty at all. So
a sneaky good game for Oregon's defense, by the way. Did not allow Drake May and that North Carolina offense to score a touchdown in the second half. That is the optimistic note that I will end on for today for
Okay,
Oregon's
here it
defense.
All right, Spencer, appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mark.